This is a $45,000 car that I was able to get for a steal, but it's because the engine was broken. So don't you worry, we're getting rid of it and we got a brand new one that we're about to put in.
We found this car in a salvage junkyard for only $13,000, and it was in immaculate condition. But when I got it home, I discovered it had a blown motor, and soon to find out, the motor is pretty much impossible to replace because it was discontinued. That's why insurance totaled the car and deemed it unfixable. So because we can't buy a new motor for this specific car, we are now deciding to build this into a drift car with a lot of awesome partners. So at this point, I knew it would be a great idea to buy a brand new built LS3 from GM to make this the best build I've ever done in my life.
Basically, we bought this motor brand new from GM and it's able to handle a lot of power, but we want to be able to push more power because we're putting a supercharger on top of it. But in order to do that, we got to put on an engine stand and be able to rip the motor apart in order to add those pieces.
It's crazy to think that not only did we buy a brand new motor from GM, but we're going to be taking this brand new motor completely apart to upgrade the internals that Texas Speed has sent us.
I am learning through this process with you and something I've always wanted to do. I could look this up and do this on YouTube, but Nate has all the knowledge of doing this stuff. These are all the parts that we're going to be replacing. That's what Texas Speed has sent us. Pretty much every moving part on the top end of this is being replaced. Oh, there we are. What you're looking at here is basically the top of the piston. Remember how there's a hole out the side? So the connecting part of this, it went up and broke here and then shot out the side over here in this area. You are asking, why are we building this motor? Well, because we had catastrophic failure on the last one here, and I wanted to explain why.
This motor broke because the valve dropped into the chamber, causing the cylinder to hit the valve, crushing between the head and the piston. And then this caused it to snap the connecting rod. And because the connecting rod snapped, it punched through the entire block, absolutely destroying the engine.
So because of the one little itsy bitsy part right here that fell through, broke the entire motor. So teaming up with brands like Movement make this stuff possible. They literally are able to help us buy brand new crate motors and make all of this stuff possible. Right now, Movement is having a big Black Friday sale. So you guys can head down the link in the description and check out their entire website and their entire catalog. Buy something for your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever you want. Overall, I really just wanted to show you why this happened, what makes a motor blow up, what makes it work, how does this stuff work. So if there's any questions you guys have about how this works or why we're doing what we're doing, please comment them down below. I want to teach you guys how this stuff works and what am I missing, what am I not sharing with you guys that you needed to know. And also, please support the brands that support me. I would not have been able to buy that motor if it wasn't for brands like Movement. So thank you so much, Movement, for supporting me and making this possible. This is all ruined because this is where the motor blew up, is right here. And this is my AC. It's the most important piece of the car. This is like literally, you cannot buy this anywhere. So it's like, do I make this broken piece work or do I buy like a 3 times more expensive?
So you would have to makeshift something, or
I have to makeshift, or I have to buy an aftermarket one that's like 3 times the cost. That would be no reason to buy it. I can just put a big spacer or a washer right here too and just make that other one work really sketchily. So this head is completely done.
So far we've been able to do the valve springs, the valve stem seals, and I think we're going to be doing the trunnions next, but realistically I'm learning through this process of what everything is called specifically and how to do this stuff. So shout out to Nate.
That's all done now basically?
Yep.
Sick. That's pretty simple.
Now the trunnion upgrade, cam, and then we could do all the gaskets and put this thing back together, be ready to slam in.
So this is the new trunnion, which is gonna go in here. And now that they're pressed in, we have these things called snap rings. And that's why these ones are special, because these will hold them in and we won't have any catastrophic failures.
Now all we have to do is that 15 more times.
Yay.
While we were doing all of the head work, we were waiting for a seal kit to come in from Texas Speed, and we weren't able to move on with the rest of our work until we received the seal kit.
So we want to put the valve covers on them for the night. So when we get the seal kit, we're able to grab these and put them right back on, and then the motor is pretty much ready to go. Well, it is day 2 now. If you can't tell, the hair looking good. Where are we at, Mr. DePasqua?
Well, we got all the goodies we needed from our guys, Texas Speed.
This I am so hyped about.
Dude,
that is so cool.
So
this is our tune. This is the computer that communicates with the motor.
More specifically, this is the jailbreak system.
Yep.
Like your video games and other things. It lets you go in there and manipulate those values.
So what's next, mate? Take us through this journey.
So now it's time to take this off so we can make space for our new big choppy boy from Texas Speed.
So this is the tool that we're using to take off that. So this is what moves the pistons, and then this is where the cam is at. That big choppy boy that we're gonna be replacing is right behind this.
Oh, there's the 2 markings right there. Yeah, that's why I wanted to get this before we broke it apart. Perfect. If these dots are off by 1 tooth, it could ruin the whole engine and we'd have to take it all back apart again. So she's top dead center now. We are gonna be replacing this piece here with this, and now we know that this is exactly where it's supposed to go. But after we take the cam out, we replace the cam, put it in, then we put these pieces in, and now we know all that.
35. What we're doing here and why we have this handle is that thing is as long as you just saw. Probably weighs 25 pounds. And each of these has a bearing in there, and they're slotted with a hole that allows oil to be injected into there to keep the bearing floating and not touching. If we were to just yank this out, we could knock a bearing out completely, which then we have to have all the bearings reinstalled, or we could knock that journal hole and then we'll have a dry lobe.
So out with the old and then with the new. And wow. If there's any shards of metal or anything that lands on this as we're putting it in, it could scratch and score anything, and that could be possibly catastrophic. So we need to make sure we're as clean as possible while putting this back in. How would you like me to apply it?
All over and liberally.
You're basically just sitting there guessing which way is it falling, which way is it going. You don't know which way because it's catching in all directions, so you have to like guess. Okay, here goes the last one. Okay. Oh. Now that the new camshaft is installed, we're gonna reverse the entire process we just did by putting the engine completely back together. So now there's a little click we're gonna wait to hear. There you go, and that is called torquing. You have to do that for literally every single nut and bolt, putting this whole thing back together. There's probably no nuts, but it doesn't matter. Each of these have a specific torque spec when putting it back together. And we need to make sure that everything is torqued because that's what happens when you put an engine back together. It has torque specs. Super important to do that. You can't just like tighten it. It needs to be tightened to a specific tightness because otherwise if you tighten it too much, it becomes stretched. If you tighten it too loose, it just loosens out. We do have these Earl bolts here. These ones just replacing them because these are now useless because they were stretched to yield and they were torqued to spec. So now we have to replace those because that's what you do when you build a motor.
Thick, Johnny. This isn't a 3-layer. This is. These are the supercharger boost ones. That's why they're different. Front.
Yeah, you see how it says front right here? Front. All right, so now that we have the head on, we have brand new head bolts from ERP, and Holly makes these, so thank you, Holly. And we're gonna grab each of these guys and shove them on in. So when building a motor like this, we both can't be doing it at the same exact time. We have to know exactly what we're doing when we're doing it. So if I were to jump in and possibly do something different, it could possibly ruin it. So we wanna make sure that one at a time that we're each doing something, but we also don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. So now we are putting in the push rods. And now that this valve cover is done, all we have to do is repeat that same process we did for this one on the other side. So now that our beautiful motor is put together, our next steps are to try to get it in there. And before we do that, we've got to put a few more things on. And sadly, I'm not gonna be here for this because I'll be training to become a professional driver with Red Bull. In the meantime, Nate is gonna be putting together the rest of the engine and adding our new ACT clutch and the other supporting parts to get this motor inside of that car for SEMA because we're rushing for SEMA.
Corey is off in Chicago doing show run with Red Bull, which is an F1 race, doing awesome stuff. I will try my best to make sure I explain it clearly, but the coolest thing about it is this ACT clutch. And that is the next step here that we are doing. And it's a bummer that Corey's not here, but we're still gonna get stuff done. So this is the T1S G05 Street Twin Disc. That can handle all of your higher horsepower projects, but still give you some decent drivability on the street application. We are only going for 750. They said this will exceed that with our horsepower and our torque. The next step here is we need to put this on our new LS3. First thing first though, pilot bearing. That is correct. Don't lose it. let's take a step back and kind of go over what a clutch actually does.
So essentially, a clutch is connecting and disconnecting the power from your engine to your wheels via the gearbox. And because our goal is to make well over the standard amount of horsepower that this car usually comes with, we have to upgrade the clutch. Currently, our old clutch was probably rated for around 400 horsepower. And because we're going to be going to 750, we wanted to get a twin disc clutch.
So that gives us twice as many and twice as much surface area in order to have the pressure applied. The other thing is this pressure plate has about 50 to 80% less clamping force than ours does. So that's almost double the clamping force than the stock, which allows us to have that high horsepower and the high torque. Seeing this definitely gives you the confidence to know you can go beat the heck out of your vehicle the way God intended it. So now that I have the clutch torque down, all ready to go on the back of the motor with the flywheel, we need to prep the car to receive the motor.
So I've been gone for over a week and Nate has been working on the Corvette. I'm excited to see the progress he has gotten. Oh, the clutch looks so nice. Damn, it looks so clean. Dude, this thing, and the key, oh, I love it. Next moves are just be waiting from Holly for the pulley kit that goes on the front end for the supercharger, right?
Yeah.
It's almost time for us to literally start wrapping it, which is gonna be happening like this weekend, yeah? We haven't even got to open the wrap yet. Should we open the wrap and look at it?
I mean, I think it might be good to just leave it into that
video,
I think.
Oh my God, I'd love to see the wrap. Yeah, you don't want to do that little lever thing because you could have picked up the whole motor.
You said pull the lever?
No, pull it. See what happens. Hold it tight.
What's gonna happen?
Just pull on it.
I'm scared
Just
now.
pull on it. No way. Oh, we just got the fuel suspension.
No,
and we literally just got the Magnuson too. Look at that.
good, you get to see it then.
Oh my God, there's 600 more horsepower.
What else?
Anything else? Oh my God, is that a whole nother thing too?
Yeah.
Dude, that's a big ass box. What? Oh, we got a lot of stuff to do now. Yeah. Where should I put this?
Corner though.
They're so light. We're just moving over to the shop. The boxes on top are worth more than the whole car. Fuel sent us the Corvette C6 suspension.
441s too.
441, so this is exactly what we need, plug and play to put on the Corvette. Be able to have exactly what we need, even for like drifting, or just we want a nice low ride, and everything runs the way it's supposed to.
So the tunability of the suspension with this is that much better.
Yeah,
so
you can raise and lower it however you want.
Rebound, compression, as well as your lift rate on your springs, you can adjust with that, and it'll make the ride actually that much better.
Dude, what are these? What is that?
Bro.
Holy sh**. This just turned into a crazy build. All of these regular crappy hoses are gonna be replaced with these. Instead of just having these stock rubber hoses, now we have these aftermarket, really nice and pretty shielded hoses that are all professionally put together. This build just went from like meh to like holy crap.
So we're supposed to be getting all new injectors, fuel rails. That's our 8-rib pulley.
Oh shit. Wow, that looks so nice. There is so much more here than I was expecting this build.
So glad it got here.
Oh my God.
So this is the first time anybody has ever put this type of Magnuson supercharger on a Corvette. And this is going to be a lot harder than we ever thought it would be.
Step 267.
It's step 267.
We will turn your Corvette into a Camaro.
All right, so now for what we've all been waiting for, the supercharger. A little Nate hands. Yeah. Easy. God, I thought I'd never own one of these. All right, as a kid, the one thing that made me get into cars was the noises that they make. The sound of compressor surge, the sound of a supercharger's whistle. Those things just made me go like, oh, I want that so much more. Even the backfires from BMWs or from 2JZs, the two-steps, the sounds of Lamborghinis, the sounds of LFAs, F1 cars. And what this provides us is not only that sound, but that power that we've all loved and that almost for me got me into cars. That beautiful sound is now going to be added to this build that all you will be able to see. This is what the old one looks like. Basically, the air just goes in and goes in the engine. This compresses the air and shoves it in the engine with pressure. Oh my God, that is so pretty. So that's what the inside of a supercharger looks like. That is so sick. Wow, there's so much more room in there than I thought. I thought it'd be so much longer. Those little guys are so small.
Oh wait, we're backwards.
That's what I was saying. Give me 1 second.
You might not be able to have that oil pressure sensor right there, actually.
Wow. Dude, that's how tall that thing becomes. Wow. This plate has to be replaced by this beautiful one here they sent us. And this little sensor right here doesn't fit, like we can't move this back and fit it. So we're replacing this plate. And then the sensor is gonna go on this little thing we have here. So overall with this entire build, I'm wanting to make it super easy for you guys to be able to follow along, but not only do that, but build a car just like this. So anything that you see in this video is linked in the description, along with Magnuson and any other parts that are a part of this build, so you guys can probably even build your own C6 Corvette one day. So with the fuel suspension, we're gonna be putting that in the background for now. We're gonna put that on later, but now we're gonna focus on the Magnuson stuff and get that stuff on.
First things first, is we're gonna swap out this awesome Magnuson Valley pan for the stock one.
Slide the whip, grab the key, yeah we gone. Life good, what you need, more than you got. Can't pretend I'm rocking with you even if you on. Can't pretend I'm rocking with you even if you slide the whip, grab the key.
Now we move on to the really fun part, which is pinning the crank.
So beautiful looking, wow.
Right.
Okay, so our main problem is that they don't make this pulley for a Corvette because that supercharger is made for a different car, basically. Or the kit is made for a different car.
This is a 2-belt pulley, and the one that we need is a 3-belt pulley. The 3rd belt is what powers the supercharger, and if we don't have that belt, the supercharger will not work.
So this supercharger comes with a lot of issues. The fact that we have to add the supercharger means the engine is going to be an inch longer in the front, which means it will not fit whatsoever. We're gonna have to cut a hole through the hood, and not only that, it makes it even longer in the back, which means we're gonna have to cut this area right near the windshield wipers.
We're 100% gonna have to be cutting all of this just to make that supercharger fit in here.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight.
So let's hope we can make this happen in time to make SEMA Fest.
And they do make the pulley, is just a worldwide shortage of that pulley.
What's crazy is that right now, GM is having a huge strike, and it's making it almost impossible to get any parts from GM or Chevy whatsoever. And you know what's really funny is that we can barely even find a dipstick for this motor. It's literally impossible.
So what if we find like a motor that's just sitting in a junkyard and we pull it from that?
Well, I called all the junkyards around here. There is one that is exactly pretty much what we're building right here. They only wanted $6K for it. He will not let me take that because then they're in the same position that is useless, just like ours is.
But we found out that Texas Speed, our partners, actually have the exact pulley that we need.
Oh my God, so Texas Speed like saved us.
Yeah.
But before we start ordering everything we need to make sure the supercharger is even gonna work. So I think it's time to start test fitting the motor. So as we're about to test fit the motor, I thought it'd be a good time for us to take out the suspension, because it's only gonna make it easier for us to put the motor in, and we need to take it out anyways for our brand new field coilovers.
So now it's time to test fit my brand new motor inside of the Corvette, which is a huge moment, but also kind of a scary one. Hopefully, we're not gonna be running into a lot of issues. All right, the motor is going in.
On the low, like I'm pushing on the bass.
Super crazy process. We have to be super careful not hanging up on any of the wires, any of the hoses, catching anything. We wanna make sure everything is like making it, clearing it. We're like this close from getting it in. So now that little end on the transmission is going in the hole of the motor. And that's how cars are born.
Phone started jumping, what it...
Okay, some crazy info that I figured out from Nate. Right now, we're able to access most of everything that we need to be able to reach from here. We might not even need to pull the motor out again. We're gonna work with it in here.
We're gonna keep it in here as long as we can until we figure out we've made a mistake. Rigged spacer right here. What were they doing to this car?
So now we're gonna be grabbing the supercharger and setting it inside of the car, which is sketchy because it weighs 70 pounds. Dude, that is gonna stick out of the hood so far. The hood's gonna be right here, bro. It's gonna be a hole.
This whole thing comes out.
I know, but like, what about
these
these two? God damn it. Oh my God. Dude, I'm not even gonna have a windshield wiper anymore.
No, we'll keep it all.
This is such a big step for us. I mean, we came from this car being in a junkyard, pushing it out of the trailer and inspecting it and there being a hole. And now we've got a brand new build motor ready for 750 horsepower inside of this car.
We could grab this manifold right here and start this thing up literally tomorrow. But because we're taking this really gnarly route and trying to build something no one has ever seen before, we're running into some issues.
But that's okay. It makes it fun.
Makes things great. If you just do what's easy,
yeah,
then you did what somebody else has done 1,000 times. I think what you're hearing is, we don't know what we're doing, and no one else does, so we can't call anybody for help.
Yeah, we're struggling.
Slide the whip, grab the key, yeah, we gone. Life good, what you need, more than you got. Can't pretend I'm rocking with you, even if you on. Can't pretend I'm rocking with you.